So I was sitting at home the other day and I was just reminiscing about the 1980s and how cool they really were. You know, I grew up in the 1980s. I was a teenager by the mid 1980s. So for me, that decade was really important from both the fashion scene and the music scene as well. Even the gadgets that were coming out then, you know, like your Rubik's cubes and stuff like that. Everything was cool. The BMX burner, just everything. But anyway, what I was thinking about, I thought, you know what? Why don't we do a vlog and reminisce a little bit about it? Now, if you're going to be talking about, I'm going to talk about more specifically the fashion scene on this vlog as opposed to the gadgets and the music. But if you're going to be talking about fashion in the 1980s and particularly guys' fashion, then I think it would be one to not open this vlog up with track tops. You know, track tops back in the 1980s were absolutely huge. I'm talking about Fila BJs. I'm talking about Sergio Tacchini, the Dallas track top, and even the Adidas trim trap, which was a favourite of mine. But track tops were that big that all the lads on the terraces would wear them, all the lads in the streets would wear them, to the point they were so big and so cool that you even had pop stars back in the days wearing them as well. So, yeah, great item and one that I have fond memories of. So after talking about the track tops, I think it would be one to not then go on to Lois jumbo cords. They were probably the second most essential bit of kit for any lad back in the 1980s. You know, matched up with your track top and a nice pair of trainers, it was just the ultimate look. But it's funny now because I actually live in Spain, and obviously Lois is a Spanish make. And when I talk to men that are my age that grew up and were teenagers also in the 1980s in this country, local guys, Spanish guys, they don't mean anything to them. So it's quite funny, really, how they were so big in the UK and the country they came from, they really didn't stand for anything. But anyway, another great item and one that I really, really like reminiscing over. Okay, the next item that puts a smile on my face, and the reason it puts a smile on my face before I introduce it is because I think everybody had one, at least one. But that was the Benetton rugby top. Absolutely iconic item. You can still pick them up. Obviously, the retro ones, you can get them here, for example, in Spain. I've seen them. We've still got Benetton shops here. I don't know if it's still a thing, Benetton, in the UK nowadays. I really don't know. I've not lived there for so many years that I'm really not too sure. But yeah, absolutely iconic piece of clothing. I think I had two or three, if I'm honest. I had the white with the green Benetton. I had the navy with the green Benetton. And the other one, I had another one. I can't think what it was. But anyway, absolutely amazing tops. And again, fond memories when I think about that brand. Now, running directly on from the Benetton rugby shirts would have to be polo shirts. Everyone was wearing them back in the day. Everybody, you know, every manufacturer jumped onto it. They were absolutely huge. But I can remember specifically when polo shirts, after the Benetton rugby top thing came out, that people were really targeting polo shirts with huge stripes. In actual fact, I managed to find this picture of me wearing an Yves Saint Laurent one back in the 80s, paired up. I even remember this outfit. I had those chino type trousers on there with a pair of Bally shoes. If you remember Bally, what a cool brand they were as well. I think you can still get hold of them now, and they're worth a bob or two. But yeah, polo shirts were massive. If you went back to the brands I mentioned at the opening, the Sergio Tacchinis, the Fila, they all had their own versions as well, typically again with stripes. But yeah, absolutely iconic pieces. Still the same today, but today's polo shirts are a little bit more toned down. They're typically just neutral colours. But the 80s ones were wild and I loved them. Okay, and that leads me very nicely on to introduce today's sponsor, which is Firebot. Now, if you've been a subscriber to the channel for a while, you'll know that I typically am always wearing a Firebot t-shirt. And the reason for that is very simply that I stand behind their products. The quality that Firebot offer are second to none. In actual fact, what I've done is I've put a few of their t-shirts from their new range here, just so you can see the kinds of colours that are available to you. But these are all great blanks, and they go with absolutely anything. So whether you're looking to put them on with some sweatpants, chinos, jeans, whatever it may be, pair of shorts, these are the t-shirts that you need. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop a discount code that's going to get you 20% off your total order. It's in the description box, along with a link to get you over to Firebot. Anyway, let's get back into the 1980s. Okay, the next item that I was thinking about the other day were the Farah trousers. Oh my days, they were big. They were so big. Grey Farah trousers paired with a Pringle jumper. It was just such a look. And again, it just has 1980s written all over it. But the funny thing was, I used to wear grey Farah trousers. And the reason I wore them was not only because I was in fashion, but I used to do breakdancing back in the day. And the Farah trousers then used to give really, really well. They had so much stretch. So if you was doing a windmill or some other crazy move, you knew that the trousers weren't going to split. But another iconic piece, and I'm hoping that they're going to put a smile on your face when you think about them, the same as they do mine. Next up would be some of the footwear that I was reminiscing over. Now, obviously, you had Diodora, Fila, Reebok. They were big footwear brands back in the day. And in the later 80s, you even started to have like more of a hip hop sort of designs coming in. So you had your troop trainers, you had your British Knights. But prior to that, so, after the big sort of days of the Diodora and Fila and stuff like that on footwear, and before the British Knights and the troop, we had kickers. Now, kickers were massive. And the reason that these got so big were that back in the day, clubs were basically trying to stop people from coming in wearing trainers, wearing sneakers. So everyone started to adopt wearing kickers because they gave the same comfort levels as a trainer, but clubs couldn't sling you out because they were classed as a shoe. So they got absolutely huge. But yeah, I remember these vividly. I remember the navy blue ones, the brown ones, the red. I remember them all. In actual fact, again, I even remember Rod Stewart. I think it was Rod Stewart. I'll see if I can find a photo, but I'm sure Rod Stewart was doing some advertising for these. But another iconic piece back in the 1980s. Now, when we're talking about the 1980s, it would be wrong to not mention the next three brands because they were just massive as well. And that is Marco Polo, Ton Sur Ton, and Chippy. Now, Marco Polo, I'm not sure if there's many of their shops left, but I do remember 18 years ago, I was living in Rome in Italy, and I actually saw a Marco Polo shop. So whether there's still a few countries that have got their stores or not, I don't know, but they were a huge piece back in the UK in the 1980s. Ton Sur Ton was another one that puts a big smile on my face because I remember people going absolutely wild for that brand. And of course, Chippy jeans were huge as well. But yeah, three great brands. Really great thoughts about those as well, and just the way we used to style them and dress them up. Anyway, guys, if you've enjoyed the vlog, please hit that like button. As always, if you've not subscribed, I am going to ask you to. It doesn't cost anything and it helps the channel to continue to grow. If there's any other brands that you can remember that I maybe have missed out of this vlog, let me know in the comments below because I'd love to reminisce over them. Anyway, guys, enjoy the rest of your day and I'll get back to you again soon.